Hey there, tech fans. Rick here again with another gadget I hope you'll find interesting. It's a wireless charging stand for your cell phone from our friends over at Anker that provides a few unique features you may not find in other models on the market that really help to separate it from the competition. Now, I'm going to explain what comes with the product in a minute and why this technology is different than most on the market. But before I do, I thought I'd take a second and explain wireless charging in general, because I know a few people probably got new phones for the holidays and they've got that feature built into the phone, and you may be confused about how wireless charging works. In a lot of ways, wireless charging is drop dead simple and incredibly complicated if you're doing it right. And that's the part that separates a lot of the companies out there. The companies that understand how it works and the variety of phones out there that need to be charged really have to spend a lot of time building smart electronics into the charging base to make sure that it charges the phone safely and provides safety for you as well when this thing's sitting on your desk. In essence, the way wireless charging works is in a base unit, whether it's a stand like this or it's a disc on your desk, a horizontal version of this, there's a big coil inside there. And essentially what's happening is that coil is being energized by a power supply and it's radiating a magnetic field. The phones have receivers built into them that when you bring this close to the coil is going to realize, hey, there's a receiver near me, and it starts a conversation with the phone, if it's an intelligent charger like this one, and determines what kind of phone it's going to charge, what a safe level of charging would be. It looks at things like how discharged is the phone, and it's going to make adjustments for that, and then it starts the charging cycle with the phone. Now, there's a lot of variables involved in that, and a lot of the less expensive chargers don't have all that smarts built into it. I've seen some of them that I've tested where all they are is large coils that sit on your desk that are energized all the time, and if you bring the phone near it, it'll start radiating that magnetic field and charging the phone, but it's not really keeping track of how well it's doing or how the phone's absorbing that charge. So those can be fairly dangerous, not only for the phone, but you don't want to have something on your desk that's radiating a magnetic field 24/7. So understanding what this company does with this particular model is super important to understand how it protects your phone, but more importantly, how it can charge your phone fast and efficient without damaging anything in the process. So let's talk a little bit about the company first. So Anker's been around forever. If you go to their website, they make a ton of products. They make charging banks, they make portable chargers, they make wall chargers, they make charging hubs, they make charging bases like this. They've been in the space for a long time. They're one of the largest companies out there for building these kind of portable charging devices. This particular model comes in a beautiful box. There's the unit itself, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Inside the box, you'll get an instruction manual. Again, it couldn't be simpler. You basically plug this thing into a wall charger, put your phone on it, and it starts charging. So there's the instruction manual. There's a more detailed instruction manual here that is in about, it must be in like 19 different languages. So if you're having a boring night at home one night, you can read through this thing and try and figure out what the other languages are. But the English version of it talks about the type of charger you need to power this thing and some of the safety precautions about how you should charge your phone. Another interesting thing they include in the box, which I thought was really clever and a very brave move, by the way, is there's a little fold out here that says happy on one side and not happy on the other side. And I thought to myself, what are these guys doing? So I thought, I'm happy, I like it. I open up the happy side, and in there are details of where you can post a positive review. So they give you, the YouTube channel, they give you a web page, they give you their own stuff to send them emails and say, hey, I love your product, you did a great job. So I like it, and I took care of that. If I didn't like it, I thought, well, what happens if I'm not happy? Because maybe I don't like the product. Well, I open up the not happy side, and lo and behold, inside here are contact numbers to get a hold of them. There's an email to talk to support. There's even details on how to get a hold of them online. That's a really, really brave move. What that means to me is that a company like Anker really cares that I'm buying a product that's working for me, that I'm satisfied with, because for them to put that contact information inside the box is a rare thing in this space. Most companies that build products like this never want to hear from you again. They want to sell it to you, have you plug it in, hope for the best, and hope that you go away if you have problems. These guys are there if you need some service after the fact. I don't expect you will, because they build a really, really solid product. Also included in the kit is a USB cable. Now, the back of this has got a micro USB connection on it to a standard USB-A. So you'll have to provide your own charger, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but they give you a nice long cord to reach the wall. You could use your own micro USB cord to power it as well. So let's talk about the charging base. For starters, unlike a lot of the chargers that are out there that have a single coil on the top, or maybe a coil up here, this has got two coils in it. And that's really important because depending on what type of phone you're using and how large it is, you may have the charging receiver low in the phone or high in the phone. This way, when I put it on the base, no matter where I put it on the base, it's going to catch a charging coil inside the base. The other thing that's nice about this is I can do it both in landscape mode like this or in portrait mode like that. So they really build it to be smart enough to be able to handle, like I said, either landscape or portrait mode like that. It'll charge in both positions, and I like that because when I'm at my desk, this way I can review emails or whatever. My phone's upside down. I can review emails or whatever's going on my phone. It'll see me on the face unlock, and it'll know that it's me and open up the phone. Or if I want to watch a movie or something, I'll lay it down like this, or if I'm watching a YouTube video and I can see the YouTube video there. So I like the fact that it's got dual coils. In addition to that, they've built in a ton of protections for you. And when I say protections, these are things you might not think about when you're buying one of these charging bases. Things like radiation protection. So for example, this guy won't turn on all the time. The only time this thing comes live is when you get a phone near it with a receiver, and the coil is smart enough to have a small amount of current running through it, always sniffing out there, looking for those receivers to show up. The minute receiver shows up, then the coils turn on and energize to start that conversation I talked about earlier. So you don't have to worry about stray radiation emanating from this thing 24/7 at your desk. Now, I can't say that that's a dangerous thing, but I'm never a fan of standing around something that's emanating magnetic waves. I just think it's probably safer to stay away from that if you can. So the fact that this doesn't generate those waves when it's not being used is a good thing for me. The other thing I like about it is it's got a ton of protections built in for any kind of metal coming inside that magnetic field, because magnets do not like metal. If it's radiating magnetic waves out and it sees a metal device come within space of that, you could damage those coils. You could really overcurrent those coils and cause damage inside. So if you're using a case that has a pop socket on the back, or if you're using one of those magnetic cases that sticks to your dashboard, you can't use a wireless charger with it because that metal on the back of your case is going to drive the wireless charger nuts. This has got protection built in to sort of eliminate that problem for you. The other thing that's nice is the electronics inside this are incredibly smart. And what I mean by that is a lot of these bases are built to charge either Android phones with the QC3 standard. QC2 or QC3 are the quick charge standards for Android. The QI standard, which is key, I guess is the way you pronounce it. It's QI. I call it QI. A lot of people call it key. But anyway, the QI standard, which is used in the iPhone, is a different style of charger. And most of these stands can't handle that. They'll either be one or the other. So you'll buy it for the iPhone or you buy it for the Android. The problem with that is in my family, we've got a mix of phones going on all the time. So when this is in the kitchen, I want to have a device that'll charge an iPhone or it'll charge an Android phone and be smart enough to know the difference between them. That's a very base level requirement on my part. What this does even beyond that is it recognizes the QI standard versus the quick charge standard, and it applies a different wattage to those two. So for example, on the iPhone, it'll charge it at 5 watts. If you go to a QI standard, the QC standard, which is the one used on the Android phones, it'll charge it at a full 10 watts. So it's smart enough to know what phone I'm putting on there and making the adjustments for that charging cycle to give me the fastest charge possible to the phone. It also has a nice rubberized base on the bottom. A lot of the less expensive models are plastic all the way around, and that doesn't seem like a big thing until you're tapping on the front of it over here trying to get your email up, and this thing's sliding off the desk away from you. So I like the fact that I put it down, it sticks where I left it, and I don't have to chase it across the desk. The other thing I will mention is if you're using this base, it doesn't come with a charger like I'd mentioned before. The charger you pick for the wall is super important because the base is only as good as the charger you're using. So if you use an old cheap charger, like a 1 amp charger, it's not going to work real well because the coils need a certain amount of current to be able to fire up. So you want to make sure you're using a charger that can supply at least 2 amps worth of current. If you're using the QC3 standard, you want to have some kind of quick charge charger on the wall. Now some people are saying, well, why wouldn't you include a charger with it? Well, honestly, I like the option to buy this and the charger separately because I happen to have a ton of chargers laying around. Why would I buy this with another charger? I don't really need another charger. I've got plenty of wall chargers around. So you can buy this and you can buy the charger. That package together is still pretty inexpensive, but I like the fact that it comes without the charger. The last thing I want to talk about is how well it charges certain devices, because the other thing you have to consider in addition to not having metal on your phone is how thick is your case, because there's a wide variety of cases out there. Some are real thin, some are real thick. You go with an OtterBox case, it's like a monster size case. The challenge is, how far away from this can I be? So how thick is my case to pull that receiver away from that charging coil? So it's hard for me to give you sort of a metric on that because they vary quite a bit. And it's hard for me to say it's this many millimeters or whatever, because that's going to get lost on you. So I came up with this test a while back for charging wireless devices. Now I'm going to take the case off to not cheat a little bit. And just to make this easier for you to see, I'm going to push this thing behind there to stand it up. Now I've got a charging cable here connected up to a 2 amp charger. Let me plug this guy in. So if I stand this thing up on there, it's going to charge right out of the gate, right? So it's starting to charge right now. It's on. Let me take a second and run this test I like to call the cheese test, because the further I pull this away from that charging base, it gives me an indication of how thick the case can be and still be able to charge it. So I like to use slices of American cheese. I know it sounds crazy, but it's a standard that everybody has. You go to your refrigerator, there's probably a piece of cheese in there. So I'm going to put this between the phone and the charging base just to see if I can charge with a case that thick. Yep, it's charging. Okay, so it started charging. So let me try 2 slices and see what happens there. Let me turn on the ding so you can actually hear it here. All right. There's 2 charged. So I got 2 slices in there. That is a pretty thick case right there. That's thicker than the case I'm using. Do you think it'll go 3 slices? I haven't had too many of these chargers make 3 slices. Most of the chargers I've tested are wireless like this. I get 2 slices and then it fails. I don't know. I haven't done this before, so let's see what happens. Well, 3 slices. So you could have a case on there that thick on the back and it's still going to charge it. That's incredible. All right, I'm going to try 4. This is nuts, I know it, but let's go with 4. I don't have a 5th slice, so if it goes past 4, that's as thick as I can make it. All right, so there's 4 slices. No, nothing. That would have been a record, 4 slices. Anyway, 3 slices is a very... Yeah, there you go. So 3 slices pretty consistently, that is a very, very thick case. So what that means to me as a consumer is that I'm using a fairly thin case here, which snaps on there and protects it really nicely. But if I ever went to a bigger case, maybe I went to a heavy duty case or an OtterBox case, this guy's gonna work just fine. And what that tells me is, let me get rid of the cheese here. That tells me that they've really thought through the variety of cases that are out there, because if I buy one of these from another company that's got a very weak coil system or very small coils inside of it, and I put a thick case on it, maybe it works with the naked foam, but it's not going to work with a case on it. So these guys have thought through the variety of cases. They built in the protection. They built in the intelligence to know what kind of phone you're charging. Everything you're going to worry about, they've already worried about and built into this charger, or this wireless system. So I like them an awful lot. I've used Anker products for years. And again, this isn't a sponsored review. I bought this. I like this. I use this. And I thought I would put a clip together just to explain what this product provides in case you've got a new phone and you're looking for a wireless stand to use with it. So that's pretty much it for today. I've got a link below if you want to go find this thing on Amazon. You can check the specs out over there, but I like it a lot. It's less than $25. Real good solution. I've got one in the kitchen that the family uses. I've got one on my desk that I use when I'm sitting there working on emails and such. So that's pretty much it for today. If you have any questions at all about what I've covered in this clip, please drop them in the comments below, and I promise to get back to you as quickly as I can. I know there's a million chargers out there, and if you've got one you like, let me know about it, and I'll probably review it on the channel. But for me, this Anker base is really working well, and I can recommend it to all my friends. So that's pretty much it for today. So thanks an awful lot for watching, and until next time, happy tech!